What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Black Ops 6. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the new LMG that came with Season 2, and this is the FENG 82. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and with this gun, it's going to be a 3 to 4 shot kill depending on the range. And when it comes to headshots, up close, we can get a 2-shot kill if both of those shots hit the head, even without the CHF barrel. And as a result, the CHF barrel is generally not worth using. It is going to be helping you in really long ranges, but in that maximum damage range, it's doing nothing extra to help you here. As for our rate of fire, this is by far the slowest in the LMG category at 461 rounds per minute. And we also have a pre-fire delay of about 55 milliseconds based on my hand testing. What this means is our time to kill potential with that 3-shot kill, excluding the pre-fire delay, is 260 milliseconds, which isn't really out of the ordinary for an LMG. That is quite a fast time to kill if we're excluding the pre-fire delay. But in most gunfights, you do have to factor that pre-fire delay in, and in that case, your time to kill potential isn't amazing by any means. As for headshots, if we manage to get that 2-shot kill where both shots hit the head up close, we're killing in just 130 milliseconds, which is insanely fast, even if you add the pre-fire delay on top of that. And then when it comes to rapid fire, this will boost our rate of fire up to 483 rounds per minute, which means our 3-shot time to kill is now going to be 248 milliseconds. Next, let's take a look at our ranges, and this gun has the worst range profile out of the LMG category. Its 3-shot kill range extends out to just 41.9 meters, which isn't terrible, of course, but it's not very good for an LMG at least. And then our maximum damage range, where we're capable of getting that 2-shot kill to the head, this is only 17.8 meters, so a fairly close range there for that headshot potential. As for our velocity, this is the best in the LMG category by a small margin at 740 meters per second. However, we could of course boost that with the gain twist barrel. This gives us a 25% boost to our velocity, whereas the long barrel will give us a 30% boost to our damage range. The reinforced barrel gives us a 15% boost to our velocity and a 15% boost to our range. And then finally, if you use rapid fire on this, well, we do get a faster time to kill. It will be hurting our range and velocity values by 10%. As for hardcore, not surprisingly, this is going to be a 1-shot kill anywhere in the body at any range, as long as you're not shooting through something, which is great, although we do have to factor in that pre-fire delay, whereas other guns that don't have a pre-fire delay, but can also kill in 1 shot, those are killing in literally 0 milliseconds, rather than about 55 milliseconds. In either case, let's have a look at Hipfire, and it's really not out of the ordinary for an LMG here, which is to say that it has pretty terrible hipfire, and especially with the super slow rate of fire on this gun, I definitely wouldn't recommend hipfiring unless it's an unavoidable situation. And now let's get into recoil, and unfortunately this gun has a very high magnitude of vertical recoil. The one saving grace here is it doesn't have a ton of horizontal recoil, so it's generally pretty manageable recoil. It's just a lot. It does kick up quite high. And that's especially true with the CHF barrel. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't just scale this down to fit my image properly. I want to ensure that all of these images from my gun guides are the exact same scale for every gun, so you can compare them side by side. And I believe this is the worst one that we've seen so far as total magnitude of vertical recoil. And also, of course, as expected with rapid fire, this will also be increasing how much recoil we experience, although not as much as with the CHF barrel. As for our handling stats, we do have the best aim down sight time in the LMG category at 400 milliseconds. That's still pretty slow, but better than the other LMGs. And it's a similar story with our sprint to fire time. This is faster than all of the other LMGs in the game at 210 milliseconds. And this is actually somewhat comparable to some of the assault rifles out there. Unfortunately, when it comes to our slide to fire and dive to fire times though, these are just standard for LMGs at 410 milliseconds and 490 milliseconds respectively. Next up, let's take a look at our reload add time, which is by far the fastest in the LMG category at just 2.12 seconds. However, we also have a tiny magazine capacity for an LMG at just 30 rounds. So that can often make it feel like you're just using an assault rifle with that smaller magazine. However, compared to the assault rifles, this is quite slow and clunky, and it has a pre-fire delay. Now, if you want to get crazy with this, you could put fast mag on this for a 20-round magazine, but a very fast reload time. In my eyes, that's a little bit overkill. So the other options are extended mag 1 or extended mag 2, which will be increasing your capacity, but harming your reload time. Now finally, for the base stats of the FENG 82, let's have a look at our movement speeds. And for our base movement speed, our sprint speed, and our tactical sprint speed, these are all quite good for an LMG at least. They're still a bit slow compared to the other guns in the game though, but not bad for an LMG. And then our aim walking speed is pretty much just standard for an LMG at 2.5 meters per second. Now before we get into some excellent attachment combinations, I do want to point out, just like with the other LMGs, we can use the unique crossbar attachment in the underbarrel slots. And this will prevent you from fully aiming down sights, but it will give you faster mobility while in this state. In my opinion, this gun isn't super well suited to this with its really slow rate of fire. I'm not saying it's unusable, I'm just personally not a big fan of it, and therefore I won't be sharing a setup with this today. Just wanted to point out that it is still there if that's something you're interested in. And with that out of the way, let's get into some excellent attachment combinations I've got for you guys. And the first one I wanted to share is my balanced stealth build. This is a nice all-arounder as long as you're not stretching your ranges out too far. With this, we've got the Kepler Microflex Optic, the suppressor, the ergonomic grip, the infiltrator stock, and then finally the recoil springs. And with this particular setup, we've got a slightly improved aim down sight speed that's manageable, at least if you're trying to get around the map. I wouldn't say aggressively, but at least more aggressively than you typically would with an LMG. It's a similar story with our strafe speed. The infiltrator stock allows us to strafe a little bit in gunfights, but it's not going to be like crazy fast like you'd see with some other weapon types. And then when it comes to recoil, this isn't great, but again, not really that difficult to control. There's just a very high magnitude of vertical recoil, which may throw you off in those longer range gunfights. But I find with this, if you keep yourself at like mid-range and you play a little bit slower and more methodically, as you should be with an LMG, you should be able to find at least some success with this setup. In saying that though, I find this gun really excels with Gunfighter since it does benefit a lot from multiple attachments. So with my Gunfighter build here, we have the Kepler Microflex Optic again. This time we're using the compensator. We've got the reinforced barrel to help with range and bullet velocity, the vertical foregrip, extended mag 1 for a 50 round mag. Once again, we're using the ergonomic grip combined with the infiltrator stock, and then finally we're topping this off with the recoil springs. And with this one, it's much more accurate and easy to control. I feel a lot more confident stretching out my ranges with this and picking people off across the map like you usually would with LMGs. And it's just got nice balanced stats overall as well. Like it's got decent handling stats. So again, you can get around the map a little bit, but obviously not super aggressively. This is where my next build comes in, and this is my preferred aggression build with the FENG 82. With this one, we've got the compensator, the CQB grip combined with the Strelic laser, so we get a very solid sprint out time, slide to fire time, and dive to fire time. And while our aim down sight time isn't improved with this, the Strelic laser gives near instant full accuracy when you start the process of aiming down sight, so it combos really nicely with the CQB grip. We're also once again using the infiltrator stock, and then finally, we're topping this one off with rapid fire. Now with this, there's still a fair amount of recoil, even with that compensator on there. Rapid fire does counteract that to a degree. But I'd say it's a little bit more accurate than the base, and realistically, with this sort of setup, it's not really designed for cross-map fights anyway. It's designed more for like close to mid-range engagements. And with that in mind, it plays fairly well if you want that more aggressive setup. And with that, that's gonna wrap it up today's gun guide on the FENG 82. As for my thoughts on this gun, I'm personally not a big fan of it. I don't like it very much. It's in a kind of weird spot in my eyes. It's like it's trying to be an assault rifle LMG hybrid, but it maintains some of the really big downsides of being an LMG without really gaining enough of those upsides of being an assault rifle. And the main thing here that I have an issue with is the pre-fire delay. It just feels like a bad assault rifle, in my opinion. And that's why I'm just not a big fan of it. Now, just like I often say, it's not like I haven't been able to find any success with this gun. Sure, it's usable. I just don't think it's very good, and it is quite a lackluster gun, in my opinion. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts, though, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in those comments down below. And if you guys missed any of the previous gun guides, including the other two from Season 2, the Cypher 91 and the PPSH 41, I have covered those. I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.